Hello, guys, and welcome to my Buffalo Bills 7 round mock draft. The Bills have quite a plethora of picks, as we can see here 10 picks, and that's very, very solid. A few compensatory, a few traded ones, but looking at who they added to their team. Obviously, Joshua Palmer, the big one, that people were kind of up in arms about. I think Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman, did very, very well. Curtis Samuel was pretty serviceable. I think that overall their wide receiver room is pretty dang good. The only thing that I guess I would say, let me look at Joshua Palmer really quick. So he's not very tall. I do think I wouldn't mind them having a taller guy, a guy that's a go up for the ball type of guy. We'll see if that is. Their O-line, very good. Dion Dawkins, also, I don't know, a lot of people refer to him as a dirty player, but he's very good. David Edwards, Connor McGovern, one of my favorite names in the NFL. Like the NFL version of Conor McGregor, you guys. I'm not a Conor McGregor fan, by the way. Osiris Torrance, and then Spencer Brown. Their tight end room is really good. I kind of expected Kincaid to kind of overtake Dawson Knox. Not that Dawson Knox is bad, obviously, but it's like, I think at some point, they're ready for this guy to kind of emerge. And he's obviously a taller guy too, and that sort of thing. But overall, just kind of, that sort of thing. They do have a very, very good running back room as well. As we know, James Cook, electric, really, working to try and get them over the hump and improve his game year after year. Excited to see another year of him, of course. Ty Johnson does great catches, does really good things. And then Ray Davis. I think they have one of the best trios in the NFL right now. So it's like the offense, to me, you might be drafting one wide receiver in this draft and then really going after things to help fix this defense. The defense, obviously you move on from Von Miller, you bring in Joey Bosa. I wouldn't say a similar player. They're obviously both pass rushers type of thing, but it's like Bosa's not nearly as electric as Von Miller was. Obviously a little bit younger, but I just think that Bosa is a little injury prone. Greg Rousseau's done well, but he hasn't really gotten into that true dominant form, even though he's still very young. And then you've got, Ed Oliver, who's a beast. Love Ed Oliver. Daquan Jones, you might look for a defensive interior here, but I think you're going to look for edge, for some good edge depth. I think that, Ogunjobi, was a solid signing, type of thing. But it's like the rest of these guys, I'm kind of like, you should add an edge in this draft. Matt Milano, when healthy, very good, as we all know. That's the problem, though, is he doesn't stay healthy. Similar to my Jair Alexander situation with the Packers, this guy just can't stay healthy. And it's like, if you're not healthy, it's like almost inert what your effectiveness is. But I'm then looking at Terrell Bernard. I don't know, middle linebacker and linebacker, potentially. I think Christian Benford has been emerging as kind of a guy that you can really rely on for sure. Been hearing his name more and more and more every year he's been in the league, and then looking at sorry, I don't know why I said linebacker. I'm sorry. Benford keeps getting better. Very scrappy, very good, very sound. He's probably the only one that I would say is absolutely safe here. And maybe besides Teron Johnson. Teron Johnson, to me, has been very serviceable, does everything well, is willing to tackle everything you want from a nickel. But it's like, right cornerback, Dane Jackson, who you just signed, Dane Jackson. And then it's like Taylor Rapp, I don't mind, but then it's like Damar Hamlin, I don't mind him, but it's like doesn't bring you any sort of flashiness. So it's like the positions that I'm really looking for in this draft, and they have so many picks. So it's like they could obviously go for a lot of different things that they don't even need, to be honest with you. It's like you're not going to draft, like 4 edge rushers, onto this team, and then still have, a lot of picks remaining. But let's get to the draft. I'm going to try to go quicker on this one just because I think it's, kind of one of those interesting situations. And who do we have here? We have Burden has fallen down quite a bit. Who even got drafted up here is what I'm wondering. Walter Nolan, who keeps climbing. Malachi Starks here. Izuruku, Jalen Walker here. And just, wow, a lot of... a lot of interesting sort of picks early. But we do have the 2 QBs going right away. I think it's wild that Abdul Carter, in my previous video today, he dropped the Jets too. And I'm like, that just seems nuts. Like for the Jets, for Aaron Glenn to land an Abdul Carter at 7. But, all right. It doesn't look like we're in the market for an edge on, the first round type of thing. Like the next person we have is Landon Jackson, and he's a 41 talent. This is why I've said in the second round, I do think that there's a solid chance they pick up a good pass rusher, because there's good pass rushers in the second round. But we're looking here, and it's like linebacker, cornerback. The only linebacker is Demetrius, and it's too early to honestly pick him. Do we look at, gosh, it just seems kind of like a pick where maybe they even trade back, which they did last year, and the Chiefs, they got Xavier Worthy. I don't think there's really, I'm actually going to be bold here. And because Luther Burden's fallen to them, and he's kind of a field stretcher type of player, which I don't think they really have, I'm going to say they grab him. I'm going to say they grab Luther Burden. Because they have so many picks. I'm thinking they're thinking, let's do this type of thing. And now see here in the second round, we've got Jack Sawyer, who I actually really like, and it's perfect. We'll draft Jack Sawyer right here, and we have another pick in round 2. It could be another edge, could be, it could be a defensive interior to me. It could be, Shamar Turner was highly touted, and I think, used in a lot of different areas, but it's like, give this guy a solid spot on the D line and draft him and plug and play, next to Ed Oliver. Now moving on to round 4, we've got Jeffrey Bassa. I want to say Bosa with this guy just to troll, but he obviously, and this guy doesn't tackle, he's smaller. I don't see him as being the guy. I feel like they've always gravitated towards sort of these bigger guys. But we have Kobe Bryant. You know what? Heck with it. We're drafting Kobe Bryant. I think Kobe Bryant goes in, plays, and really embraces that Buffalo culture of hard-nosed gameplay. And you know what? Well, wow, we have Jack Kaiser here. You know what? Geez, this is crazy, but I'm just going to go Jack Kaiser. I feel like having this many picks, it's just like, how many do we still have left? We still have 5 picks left, and we've picked 5. Yeah, crazy. You know what I'm going to say here? I'm going to say they draft Tesla. He is an actual taller guy. And then it's like, maybe you have him, or maybe you have a 5 wide receiver set with, Coleman. Now I forgot the other wide receiver's name. Coleman and Shakir. And then you have you have Luther Burden, and then you have Tesla, 2 burners on the outside, capable of getting deep, and you could do a lot with that. And it's like you've got Josh Allen. Really spread the offense, make them play man against you, make that scheme really go and that sort of thing. And it's like, let that offensive coordinator cook. That helped Josh Allen really get to a point where it's like, oh man, you could argue if he has another great year like that, maybe he's the best in the league, best quarterback in the league, and he overthrows Mahomes. I know it's crazy to say with no Super Bowls, but hey, I'm just whispering because I don't want the rage hate. But moving on, we've drafted a couple wide receivers, which I didn't think we'd be doing. Linebacker, edge, interior, cornerback. We've addressed like all of their apparent needs. What else do we really want? I think it's always a good idea to shore up the O-line. Not that they really need a solid shoring up. It's like you look at their O-line and it's kind of like, what would you draft? Maybe a guard. We've got a guard, Tyler Cooper, right here. We'll draft him. And then we have a few picks late. Oh, I didn't realize that we had 4 picks, and then in like five pick scenario. Looking at some of these other guys. Oh, I like Longerbeam. Longerbeam, to me, they play a lot of man on this team. Maybe this guy comes in and he's kind of a shiftier kind of guy who plays slot, obviously. Or he doesn't play slot. What am I saying? But, you could always use some outside guys, and it's like Longerbeam. I don't know what it is about him, but it's like, I just like it. And then another pick, goodness, this is crazy. We have 2 picks left. We've kind of addressed a lot. I think it's always a good idea, like I just said, to shore up your O-line. And I see a couple tackles here. Do we look at Emory Jones? Do we think that he fits what they want here? And it's like he's obviously dropped. Very good size, though. He looks like a size that they would go for. Oh, so does John Williams. Crazy pass block grade. Not that the, run block, pass block, and as, I guess didn't play very much or was injured. But, we're going to go John Williams. Sounds like a guy who would play in Buffalo. And now we are on to our, God, it's crazy. They have all these picks, but they don't have a single round 7 pick type of thing. I am thinking that we grab another linebacker, and I'm actually thinking Jay Higgins right here. I think Jay Higgins, great coverage grade, missed tackles a little bit of a concern type of thing. You have quite a bit there, but I think that, you've got a guy like Sean McDermott. If he can edge out the wrinkles on this guy, he looks like a steal. We're going to go Jay Higgins, and that is our final pick. But, interesting, Demetrius Knight right here. I kind of get it type of thing. It's not like Shamar Turner's bad, but it's like bigger need. I do think defensive interior is a need for this team. I don't see why it isn't. They kind of struggled a little bit on the run here and there. It wasn't a complete disaster type of thing, but, overall, take a look at here. I'm going to kind of scroll this one a little bit, you guys. Take a look here and tell me what you think about, this draft. Obviously, with this many picks, you can really cover a lot of bases, and you can, you have a lot of contingency picks, should a guy like get injured type of thing, and I think that, looking at, they didn't grade John Williams high, even though I think he looks like a kind of guy that would, play for this team. But overall, tell me what you guys think, and, what you maybe would have done differently. This might be one of those scenarios too, that I feel like, maybe the Bills could even, shore up on talent for future years that they don't need so much. If teams want to trade away maybe even future year picks, you could still cover all the bases you need for, this year type of thing. And then, make sure that you have future picks for future years, because really they don't have that many holes in the roster. The defense, obviously, they didn't perform, nearly as well. And I mean, they could do a lot more. Like I had them draft, obviously four on offense, 2 wideouts and 2 linemen. But, looking at their offense, I mean, it's something that, what do they absolutely need? And I mean, I'm not, sure, maybe you see Loveland there, but, it's one of those things, like I just said, that I think I think they would be, fine not drafting any wide receivers. But Luther Burden seems like a guy that if he drops that far, why wouldn't we take him? And it's like you look at, obviously you look at the guys, taking ahead of him then. You're talking about Egbuka. Where's Golden? Golden's got to be up here, right? Golden went high. Pick 8. It's insane. The first wide receiver in the draft taken. T-Mac, 12, obviously. And then it's like, Egbuka, like I said. And then it's like he's the 4th one down at 30. It just seems crazy to me. A guy that's electric like Burden, looks like he could be a true nightmare with the right QB. And it's like Josh Allen to me, he's that QB. And you make that run after catch even more dangerous on something you already did extremely well last year. But tell me what you guys think. And as always, go Pack, go.